Oh God! Can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream?
According to the poet, this world and all existing life is an illusion of sorts. As reality doesn't exist, philosophers refer to it as dream argument and dream hypothesis.
What? What an interesting lesson! By the way, look at how there's a ray of sunshine coming through the curtains. That's so pretty. This kind of weather indeed puts you in such a dreamy mood, huh?
Yeah, right. But remember, there is no rose without thorns. That sunshine may look glorious, but it will harm your eyes.
Yeah, I know. The maids always tell me that sunlight is the enemy for me, for my beautiful, sensitive blue eyes. Looking at it once, and I'll never be able to see anything again. That's why I've never been allowed to leave this castle. My maids all look identical in those masks, don't they? When I was a child, of course, I once got curious, and I pulled one of them off. As punishment, I was denied dessert for a whole week. And worse still, it wasn't worth it, as the maid's face was exceedingly ordinary. The masks looked far better. Anyway, I suppose all that matters is that they take great care of me. Each day they bring me food, water, and new clothes. I was sipping my leek and potato soup when I heard a scream. "Let me out!" Curious, I went and hid in a corner and saw two maids attempting to lock the screaming girl into a room. I've never seen that girl in this castle before. I wonder if she's from the outside world. Poor her. It looks like she can't control herself. The world out there is scary. Perhaps it has sent her into madness. It's much safer here in the castle. I can play all day, paint, knit, and read. Oh, how peaceful. But I still couldn't stop thinking about that poor girl. I wonder what will happen to her. The screaming didn't stop, and my curiosity got the best of me, so I snuck into the girl's room. Shh! Stop screaming! No one is listening. Who are you? My name is Mistress. What's yours? Mistress isn't a name. Are you stupid? It's just a name. Everybody here calls me that. This girl was so stubborn. She seemed to be wary of everything. Poor little outside world girl. After much persistence, she told me that her name was Nora. I was about to ask her why she was here, when suddenly 2 maids appeared and dragged me away. "Mistress, you should not interact with this wicked girl, and you mustn't be late for your embroidery class." It was nice to finally get to talk to a girl my own age, and I must admit that given her brash nature, I found Nora rather interesting. During class, I kept thinking about how I could sneak out and see her again. Ah! Ouch! That annoying girl's screaming made me prick my finger. I ran out to check on her, but the maids immediately blocked my way. Perhaps I could talk some sense into her. Trust me, the last time I spoke to her, she was acting totally normal. The desperate maids exchanged looks, then let me go to her. As predicted, when I approached Nora, she stopped screaming. "Hey, it's Ariana. That's my real name." Screaming never works here. Just pretend you're listening to my words, then I'll help you out. The maids were quite surprised when Nora immediately calmed herself down and showed signs of following directions, so they let us be and left. We began to chat, and ever since then, the maids let me see Nora every day. She told me how before her mother died, she gave Nora an address to find her biological father, who she'd never met before. Nora's grandma helped her set up a meeting with him and took her to the meeting point. She was so nervous, but happy at the same time to finally meet her dad. And at first, he was as kind and charming as she imagined. But then unexpectedly, right after they said goodbye to her grandma, he brought Nora here and let those masked people lock her up. But you're fortunate to be here, as it's safe.
No, it's not.
That's just what they want you to believe. Then Nora told me about the outside world, about her friends, school, and shopping malls. Every day, she even drew me paintings of the outside world, of beautiful memories with her family, her mom who passed away, and also her dad, even though she only met him once. Family? What is that? All I'd ever known were the faceless maids. The next day when I visited Nora as usual, she suddenly told me,
"Sis, we need to get out of here."
"What do you mean? This is my home."
"No, it's not. It's a prison.
Who on earth stays inside for 14 years, huh? It's because of my eyes. I'll go blind if I go out there. My maids only want the best for me. That's why they keep me here."
"Are you crazy? You've been tricked. Just think about it. Do you know who gave birth to you? And why did that person leave you with these people? Or are these people the ones who took you away from your mom? Don't you want to find out the truth?"
This was my home, wasn't it? But thinking about what Nora just said, as well as the outside world that she rambled about every day, I suppose it would be interesting to experience it for myself. I'd just have to try my best to protect my eyes. So, I snuck into the housekeeper's room and stole the front door key. As we approached the main hall leading to the door, we saw a masked woman standing by a man. In his arms was a young girl, deep asleep.
Huh? That's my dad.
What? Did he come to pick you up or something?
Don't you see that they're all in the same boat? And she's the ringleader.
I peered closer at them and spotted the masked woman's silver hair and luxurious dress. Isn't that my tester? She lives in the Grand Suite and visits me weekly to assess my learning and etiquette.
"Mom, how are you going to handle this case?" "Just leave her in the empty room at the end of the hallway. As for Nora, I think she'll settle in properly in a week or so. Then we can start her etiquette and culture lessons." "Which Nora?" "Ah, I remember. Besides, you should restrict yourself a bit. Ariana, Nora, and now this child? Don't let the list of your illegitimate children be as long as your arm. Then you can just throw them away somewhere. Why bother raising them? They are my grandchildren, after all. They can't end up like those street rats. And who knows? They may become useful. But this has to be the last one. We can't risk Laura finding out about us. It would ruin our family's affluent name. Do you understand?" "I know. But fear not, as my wife is kind and foolish. She is completely clueless to these matters, thanks to your smart move."
So, we were this heartless man's illegitimate children? And because of his deceit, he was forcing us to live in darkness? I don't want to be locked up and lied to any longer. We needed to escape. From then on, Nora kept her act up and behaved like an angel, which eventually led to us being allowed to study together. And today is the day.
"Ariana is having a convulsion! We must take her to the hospital as soon as possible!"
However, the maids called the doctor to come round here instead. No! The plan was to escape when we were taken outside. If the doctor came here, he'd discover that my rashes were painted on and our plan would be disclosed. Okay, plan B. I was still lying on the bed playing the whole role of a patient, while Nora locked the door of the room and went to the bathroom screaming.
"Help! There's a giant spider in here!"
As expected, the doctor went to check. Then Nora immediately locked him in. Then we quickly took the knotted string made of the fabrics and embroidery class out from under the bed and then escaped through the window. Ah! I got my head between my hands as soon as I landed. I didn't expect it to be so bright outside. It's burning my eyes, Nora!
What? There's no time for your hysterics. You'll be done if you're stuck here anyway. Just open your eyes and run! Hurry up!
But I'm scared! Huh? Nothing happened. My eyes seemed fine. But no time to celebrate, as then I saw— oh my God, a couple of maids were chasing after me. Nora pulled my hand and ran towards the garden. Fortunately, we were already out of their sight when—
woof, woof!
A huge hound appeared out of nowhere and growled at us. I crouched down in a bush and watched Nora wave the dog closer, and then pat him. What? Magic! The dog suddenly became unusually obedient and led us to a secret place. A dog-sized passageway. I hesitated, but seeing the maids gaining on us, I reluctantly squeezed through it real quick. I can't believe I'm putting my destiny in the hands of this reckless girl. She said we had to get to her grandmother's house right away for help. What are those things running back and forth on the road? Why are they making that loud, annoying noise? And why is Nora waving her arms about? Did she want them to stop? Too bad nobody did, as she's no princess. We kept wandering until we saw something which Nora called a truck parked on the roadside. She rushed over, then helped me onto the back of it. Oh, it was full of bananas! I stuffed my mouth full of them to ward off my starvation, while the scenery kept changing. That thing stopped, and we immediately got off before getting caught. I held her tight, frightened of all the people around us. They kept staring at me. And what kind of style was that? They all looked very peculiar. Maybe they were just commoners. Then we used our power to demand a man to take us to Nora's grandma's. Oh, it was exhausting. What? The outside is actually beautiful, sparkling with all those lights. And there are exhibitions of everything in the world, such as food, toys, flowers, and even creatures. Yes, everything! But the most important thing was that my eyes didn't get sore looking at those shiny things at all. Nora's grandma seems kind, but her home is full of the strangest of items. While Nora told her what had happened, I found myself bewitched by the talking black box on the wall. Suddenly, Nora's grandma led us to her far smaller truck and took us to somewhere called the Cops. They all wore these same funny outfits and bombarded us with dozens of confusing questions. And what exactly is an ID card? A few days later, there was news that the cops had caught my so-called dad, grandma, and maids also. As predicted, he was a womanizer. So when his lovers asked him to support his children, he was so afraid that his wife would find out that he took these children and locked them away in the castle. They're currently awaiting something called a trial, which Nora says is where bad people get their comeuppance. Whoa! The world outside is so busy. I didn't realize there'd be so many unmasked faces. And that strange talking box still startles me, especially when someone is holding a weapon. Nora says when I've adjusted to my new life a little more, I'll start school with her. And one day I'll even learn how to drive one of those smaller trucks. But firstly, she's teaching me how to dress like other people do, and use this brick to communicate with them. This world is puzzling, but I'm sure with Nora's help, I'll soon find my feet. Even if it's just so I can learn how to reply to my dashing neighbor.
I'd just climbed back into the room when suddenly I heard a voice. Jasmine, how come you're only getting home now? I turned around to find Emma standing there. That's my business. Don't come home late like this again, okay? You'll be grounded if your dad finds out. I shrugged and closed my door without saying anything. Yep, that's Emma, my stepmom. She doesn't actually care. She just pretends to. If it wasn't for her telling my dad to forbid me from singing, then I wouldn't have to sneak out to go practice like this. Different day, same story. Yet again, I've had to lie about going to my singing practice. Honestly, I can't wait to be an adult so I can do whatever I want. Dad, I'm going over to Mix to study, I said as I headed for the door. Suddenly, Emma pulled me back and handed me a bottle. Huh? Licorice tea? Drink this after practicing. It helps keep your voice clear. Then she winked at me. Huh? So she knew I'd lied about where I was going, yet still she'd helped me? Maybe, just maybe, I've been misunderstanding her this whole time? Later that night, Emma suggested we should go for a picnic on the weekend, and for once, I excitedly agreed. But when the weekend rolled around, there was this hectic snowstorm. Emma kept looking out at the snow with disappointment written across her face. That's when the idea hit me. How about we have an indoor picnic? Yes, that's right. That's a great idea. And so we set up the tent right in our living room, and we were having the best time when suddenly the doorbell rang. I got up to answer it, and standing there covered in snow was a woman. She suddenly ran at me and said, "Oh my gosh, Jasmine, you've grown up so fast. I've missed you so much." Before I could understand what was going on, Dad shouted, "Megan, I can't believe you have the nerve to show up here like this. I know you won't accept my apology, but you don't understand. I had to see her. I've missed her every single day." Oh my God. So, that woman was my mother? I couldn't hold back my tears and ran straight over to hug her. I swear I'd been waiting for this moment for years. Mom gently stroked my hair and then turned to my dad. "Can I stay here for a while? Just to make it up to my beloved daughter after such a long time being apart, Elvis?" "Are you joking? Get out of my house!" "Dad, please let her stay. Please." But no matter how much I begged, Dad wouldn't give in. And so I turned to Emma for help. "Elvis, just let her stay here. If Jasmine wants to be with her mom this badly, we should let them have some time together. Come on, darling." I looked at Emma with so much appreciation, then turned those puppy eyes towards my dad, and eventually he reluctantly nodded his head. "Yay!" I shouted and led Mom to my room. From that day onwards, I spent most of my free time with her. We went to the movies together, shopping together, and honestly, it was the happiest I'd ever felt. One day, I was listening and humming along to my music when Mom came in. "Wow, so you also love singing?" It must be genetic. Back then, if I hadn't been so passionately obsessed with music, which drove your dad crazy, I might never have left you like that. Now I regret it so much, Jasmine. I put my arms around her and softly said, "After all these years, I still think about that lullaby. Can you sing it to me?" "Which one?" "I sang you many lullabies back then. It's Don't Know Why by Nora Jones." "Oh, right. That one." Then she started singing. I swear to God, her voice was like an angel. But strangely, it didn't give me any of the feelings I had as a kid. Was it because I have grown up? While I was absorbed in my thoughts, I suddenly saw Emma's shadow at my doorway. But when she met my eyes, she hurried down the stairs. Huh? Why was Emma crying? I was so confused. "She must be jealous of our relationship," Mom said. Yeah, probably, since she'd been married to my dad for 3 years, but we'd never been close. That evening, when I went to the kitchen with Mom to set the table, she suddenly shouted, "Oh my gosh! Why did Emma make chicken parmigiana? Doesn't she know that your dad hates this?" Then she took the plate and threw it in the trash, saying she would order takeaway instead. Huh? Dad hates this? He always complimented Emma on her signature dish. Before I could react, Emma entered the room. As soon as she saw her chicken in the trash, she glared at Mom. Things then got so awkward. Emma had skipped dinner. Mom also tried to start a conversation with Dad a few times, but he ignored her. I felt so bad for Mom. In my dad's eyes, there was only Emma now. But my mother had done nothing wrong. She just wanted to pursue her passion. Later that night, I was heading to the pantry to get some snacks when I heard Emma yelling at Mom. "Megan, for old time's sake, I didn't bring up anything from the past, but you can't just do whatever you want." How dare Emma yell at my mom like that? As soon as Emma left, I ran over to my mom asking her what had happened. She hesitated for a while, then told me the whole story. It turned out Mom and Emma used to be in the same band when they were young. And since Mom was always the lead singer, Emma had begrudged her ever since. Perhaps she has never gotten over it. I didn't expect Emma to be so mean. So from that day on, I began to show my attitude towards Emma. I didn't let her go to the parent-teacher conference like I had promised before, and I even forbade Mick, my best friend, from talking to her every time he came over. Mom, how did you and Dad meet back in the day? Well, back then, your dad was a waiter at the lounge I used to sing at every weekend. We quickly fell in love and started leaving love letters for each other at our secret spot. Ew, how cheesy. It's called romantic, you silly. At that time, we put our initials at the end of every letter. Suddenly, there was some noise at the door, and I turned to see Dad standing right behind us. What do you mean, our initials? It represented our two favorite characters' names from that movie. Yes, it was the initials of Monica and Quincy in the movie Love and Basketball. Dad gaped at Emma in surprise as she continued. I was the one writing letters to you that year. But when I got to the meeting spot, I saw you and Megan together, so I left. Dad and Emma looked at each other, then turned to stare at Mom. Actually, back then I liked you so much that I pretended to be Emma, but it's not that important. In the end, you were still into me and we got along really well, right? I can't believe you lied to me like this for all these years! Then Dad angrily left the room, followed by Emma. As for Mom, she was sitting there, tears pouring from her eyes. Okay, so Mom was definitely in the wrong, but did Dad need to treat her like that? Who doesn't make mistakes from time to time? And anyway, it's because of my mom's mistake that I'm even here, right? From that day onwards, the atmosphere in the house was so intense. Dad ignored Mom, and Emma always gave Mom hateful looks. Until one day, I'd just gotten home from school when I saw my dad excitedly running towards me saying, Emma is pregnant. You're going to have a little brother or sister. Wow. I'd always wanted to have a sibling. I couldn't believe it. So that night, my family threw a party to celebrate, and Mom also congratulated Dad and Emma. And thanks to that, the tension between the three of them started to ease. Phew. But a few days later, for some reason, Dad found out that I'd lied about going studying with Mick. He was furious and grounded me for a week. I was sullenly playing on my iPad when Mom entered the room. Emma must be the snitch. Now that she's pregnant, she wants Dad to be angry with you, so he'll give all his love to her and the baby. Well, that just made sense. The other day, I'd even seen Emma whispering something to Dad, and as soon as he heard it, he got mad. Ugh, such a two-faced woman. I had to sort this out, and so I set up a fun plan for my stepmom. One time, I made her orange juice using powdered cheese, and she ended up spitting it out all over Dad. Then I unscrewed the shower head to add blue food coloring, and that's how I gave her a Smurf makeover. It was hilarious hearing her horrid scream from the bathroom. Another time, I snuck into Emma's room, trying to put flour in her hairdryer. I was rummaging through the bedside table looking for her hairdryer when suddenly I saw a DVD labeled Jasmine 0311. Huh? What's this? Why was my name on it? Curious, I went back to my room to play it, and then I couldn't believe my eyes. On the screen, Emma was carrying a baby and singing a lullaby to her. This melody. Wasn't it the song Don't Know Why? So that baby was me? But Emma couldn't sing, could she? Her voice was weak and sounded hoarse. What did this mean? I rushed to show my dad the DVD. Emma told me not to talk about this, but since you already know, I won't hide it anymore. Then he told me everything. Turns out my mom left for a rich man when I was only 2 years old, and it was Emma who came and helped my dad take care of me during my younger years. Oh my gosh. What? So all those memories of my mom's warm hugs and lullabies were all actually of Emma? A feeling of guilt welled up in my heart. I had to do something to apologize to Emma. So the next day, I asked Mick to go to the mall to help me buy her a gift. As I was passing a coffee shop, I suddenly saw my mom sitting with some guy. Without thinking much, I quickly pulled Mick to a nearby table and eavesdropped on them. Honey, how's the money? You know how pushy the creditors are, and they're getting kinda aggressive. Don't worry, it won't be long now. My daughter's on my side. She'll help me kick her stupid stepmom out. Then my ex-husband will soon follow her wish and volunteer to give me money. What? What was going on? Had Mom come back just for Dad's money? I was about to go confront her when my phone rang. It was Dad. Jasmine, go to the hospital right away. Emma is in the emergency room. By the time I got there, I saw my dad sitting outside the ER with his head in his hands. After a while, the doctor came out and said, "Both mother and baby are okay. Next time, please pay more attention to the patient's food allergy." How could you eat stuff you're allergic to? You must be more careful, okay? Yeah, Emma always took good care. It didn't make sense, unless my mom... I was about to tell Dad about what I'd seen at the mall when Mom suddenly appeared, eagerly asking about Emma's situation. Unable to stand her pretense any longer, I shouted, "Mom, drop the act. It was you who did all of this, wasn't it?" "Jasmine, what nonsense are you uttering?" Furious, I immediately told them the whole story I've heard. "Megan, I could forgive you for the old letter story and for trying to sabotage my voice, but the fact that you wanted to harm my baby is unforgivable. It turns out the stuff from the past that she mentioned before was that my mom harmed her to destroy her voice. So that's why Dad didn't let me sing, for fear that it would cause Emma pain." Suddenly, Mom burst out laughing. "I don't need your pity. You were so lucky to have such a beautiful voice and a wonderful man by your side. And even now, you're still trying to take the life that should have been mine. Megan, give it up already. You need to stop this." Mom was about to say something, but I interrupted her. "Mom, please just go. I'm so ashamed to have a mother like you." Then I burst into tears. She got up and left, without even so much as a glance back at us. Emma took me into her arms. "I was afraid that you would be disappointed. That's why I hid everything from you. I'm sorry for treating you so badly." She gently patted my head, and I felt like I was back in my childhood, where she'd held me and sang lullabies. It was so comforting. Finally, peace has returned to my family. I'm so fortunate to have Emma as a stepmom, and pretty soon, my little bro or sis will be here, and I can't wait.
Yes, it's me, Kate, here again. When I traded places with my doppelganger to avoid being stuck in some ghastly summer school, I didn't expect to end up penniless and having to work in some dusty old homestay. But I suppose it wasn't all bad, as I got to meet Bond. So imagine my surprise when I discovered that not only was he a runaway rich kid like me, but I also caught him hanging out with moi. Well, the other me. Ugh! I hired her to pretend to be me, not to be with my man. Looks like it was time to return to my normal life.
"Miss, without a letter of invitation, I can't let you in."
Are you kidding me? Why do I need an invitation to enter my own home? How could they not recognize me? Right at that moment, Clara gracefully got out of a luxury car and entered my house. I shouted over to her, but on seeing me, she gave me a confused look. Then she whispered something to the security guard and went straight inside.
"Sorry, Miss Kate doesn't know you. Please leave."
Huh? How dare she? She wasn't Miss Kate. I was. Did she really think she could treat me like this? Ugh! I'd show her who the real rich girl was. But as I was leaving, I caught a glimpse of myself in a car window. Oh my gosh, I looked horrendous. My once bouncy curls, perfectly made-up face, and glamorous clothing were no more. Instead, I had a greasy ponytail, my skin was completely bare, and I was in worn old clothes. No wonder the security guards didn't recognize me. I barely recognized my own self. Well, well, well. How comfortable it is to be back in my room, doll up again, and just take back what's mine. How did you get in here? This is my room, remember? I can run away by myself, so you bet I can sneak back into my own room. Listen here, fake me. Mission's over. It's time you left. What mission? Are you crazy? Get your filthy hands off my stuff! Wow, immerse yourself in the role much, huh? Enough. Now give me my life back. What if I don't? Don't you dare! You think my parents won't recognize me? Seeing as I've been impersonating you for an entire month without question, I doubt it. Besides, they're on a month-long business trip in Dubai. So, who will help you now, huh? OMG, she was so arrogant, unruly, and obnoxious. Worst of all, she reminded me of someone. Me! Well, the old me. Why didn't I realize before how awful I actually was? Ignoring Clara's defiant face, I took out my phone and made a FaceTime call to my parents. They had to spot it was me straight away, right? Wrong. They gave us both looks of shocked confusion, and they couldn't seem to tell us apart. So they told the two of us to stay at home for the time being while they made arrangements to come back. Huh, is it that hard to distinguish your own daughter from a hick? But anyway, she'll be out of here soon enough. The next morning, we went back to school. Claire looked so trashy in her tiny miniskirt. Jeez, this wasn't a nightclub. Oh, Kate, you look outstanding. Where did you buy it from? That's it. My friends will always be able to tell me apart from a fraud. But hang on. No! They were moving toward Clara. Huh? Are they actually praising her? Wow, there's another Kate here, but it's a faulty version. A lame one. My panicked feeling increased as all my friends and Clara burst out laughing. You guys don't recognize me? I'm the real Kate, the one you all idolize, the trendsetter around here. Everyone looked at me in bewilderment, and then back to Clara. Look at her pathetic appearance. She's just trying to be a copy of me. After that, Clara and her friends left. Jeez, all it took was one summer away for Clara to turn into me. Ugh, why doesn't anyone recognize me? Seeing Clara living my life with my friends was driving me crazy. I was now seen as the copycat version of my own self. Ugh, no way was I losing to this crafty charlatan. So the next day, I decided to show everyone how charismatic I was. After all, form is temporary, but class is permanent. And soon, everyone would realize who the real Kate was, right? I waited until Clara was out of the way, then I went over to my group and started recalling some of our old stories that only the real me could possibly know. When Clara returned, oh my, she looked furious. One day, when I just entered the cafeteria, I saw my group making a nerdy girl run errands for them. Poof, your mother is the school's measly janitor, so you two are just our dog's body. Now hurry up and go get us some ketchup. When the girl was bringing it to them, one of them tripped her foot and made her face fall down on the plate of sauce. The whole group burst into laughter. I rushed to help her up and scowled at the clique chic girls. They may have looked stylish, but beneath it all, they were monsters. But worst of all, it was my fault, as it was my group. I basically created them. What's wrong with her mom being a janitor? That doesn't mean she has to serve you guys. As I can see, all of your legs and arms are working fine. So go get stuff yourself. Wow, look who it is. Do you all believe she's just a lousy replica of mine now? The true clique chic Kate wouldn't blurt out such nonsense. Clique chic all looked me up and down, then gave me disgusted looks. Too much of a saint. What a hypocrite. Kate would never say that. Obviously, she's the fake one. Those whispers made me so angry that I turned as red as the ketchup. Fine, pretend to be me all you want. But you and I both know I'm the real me, and I'm better than ever. You won't be able to keep up that act for much longer. And then to the surprise of the others, I stormed off. That night, social media was awash with my news. Can you believe I was actually being mocked for being the copycat while Clara was being praised? Talk about ridiculous. I scrolled through my old photos and scanned over some of the thousands of likes and compliments. I'd lived in the admiration of everyone. Ugh! Maybe I needed to go back to being the arrogant and snobby old Kate, and then everything would be over, right? Only I couldn't do it. I couldn't be that heartless and selfish version of myself anymore. So how could I end this whole mess of my own making? There was another way. If there's only one Kate who showed up, there wouldn't be any more fakers. Oh, seems like it's going to be a really good day at school today. But such a shame that our sweet Clara might not be able to join us. Everyone greeted me warmly as they thought that the imposter who was smeared on social media yesterday had been too embarrassed to show her face. Even so, I didn't want to hang out with these stuck-up mean girls anymore. The clique chic group should be disbanded. As I was deep in thoughts, out of nowhere, a nerd blocked my way with a bouquet of flowers. He timidly held them out to me, and people began buzzing and pointing. The girls in the group took pictures of him and urged me forward. That's our Kate with her irresistible charms.
Someone's essay's ready for next week.
I hesitated, not knowing what to say. I didn't want to accept love from someone I didn't like. People started to frown at my silence. Then a few voices of doubt arose.
Why doesn't she accept the bouquet as usual?
Perhaps she's not? I saw red. Suddenly, I found this whole pretending to flirt with someone just to have them do our homework absurd. And above all else, it wasn't fair to him. You don't have the guts to do it, do you? Because you're not Kate. Startled, I turned around to see Clara taking the bouquet of flowers from the nerd's hand. I snatched it back angrily. He likes me, not you. He likes Kate, and I'm Kate. That Clara was just so shameless to say that. Did she really think she could be me? Did she think being mean and snobby made her the it girl? How shallow of her. Yes, if it was Kate from the past, I would have received that bouquet and made him do my homework. But the present Kate won't do that. Do it yourself. Stop relying on others to do everything for you. As for you, Clara, let me tell you this. Despite your best efforts, you'll never be me. Once a liar, always a liar, you counterfeit. I was done here. I was the real me, and if they couldn't see that, then whatever. So, I walked away. Suddenly, a hand pulled me back. It was the nerd. Sorry, but I really don't like you in that way.
You really don't have feelings for me? Are you sure?
Upon his words, he took off his wig, glasses, and the mole on his face. Bond? Is it really you? I was so shocked that I couldn't believe my eyes. Bond handed me the bouquet and said,
You won't say no, will you?
Of course. How could I say no? I led him to an empty classroom to talk. Why are you here? And what's with the disguise?
After I left the homestay, I went back home. My parents did what they always do, and tried to make out like money could solve everything by throwing an extravagant party. I was lingering out of the way when, to my surprise, you walked in with your family.
Huh? What party? Oh, he must mean Clara. He continued.
I went over to talk to you, but you acted like you'd never met me before, so it didn't take me long to work out this girl wasn't you. I was worried, so I called the homestay and they said you'd left. Determined to solve this mystery, I went to your school and found everyone was in a frenzy, as out of nowhere 2 Kates had appeared. Both of them were it girls and nothing like the homestay Kate I knew. So, in order to suss out the real one, I disguised myself. And my plan worked. As here you are.
You're such a trickster! But I still have one question. Why did you suddenly leave the homestay that day? So, turns out his passion for marine life led him to run away from his disapproving parents and go to a coastal homestay. Only, when he realized from the newspaper that his parents were looking for him, he didn't want to get the homestay into trouble, so he returned home. You should have at least said goodbye to me. I was so down when you left like that. Did you know that?
Kate, I'm truly sorry. I never meant to upset you. Actually, I'm kinda crazy about you.
After that, Bond drove me home. And guess what? Looks like my parents were back earlier than expected. As for the fake Clara, she'd already fled the scene with a load of my clothes and makeup. But, whatever. At least she'd finally gone. So, what now? Well, I'm dating Bond, and I'm so happy with him. At weekends, I go to the coast and help him with his marine animal research, which is actually a lot of fun. And I don't even mind having salty air lips. I never take my parents for granted anymore, and I never force other students to carry out dumb errands for me. And of course, clique chic was no longer a thing. Everyone at school had grown used to the new and improved version of me. Obviously, I'll always be the it girl who sets the trends, but only the decent ones. Finally, after an 11-hour flight, I arrived at LAX, Los Angeles International Airport. It's awesome! I can't wait to see my mom. You see, my dad's French and my mom's American. We used to all live together in France, but then they split up and Mom moved back here. Of course, I've talked to her on FaceTime and stuff, but this will be the first time I've properly seen her in 5 years. I haven't visited before because Mom's a super successful businesswoman and she works really hard. That meant she wouldn't have the time to provide me with the attention I needed. But now that I'm 16 and I can look after myself, I'm finally able to visit. So, thanks to my dad and stepmom for my plane ticket birthday present, I'm now in sunny LA for a whole month. Not only do I get to spend time with Mom, but I also get to chill out in her enormous villa. Ah, bliss. But first, let's get all my luggage, then find a taxi to my mom's. Yeah, unfortunately, she couldn't come to pick me up since she had some work to do. But no problem, I can handle this myself. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. It's been half an hour and my luggage was nowhere to be seen. Then, this handsome guy approached me and said, "Hey, looks like your luggage has gone AWOL. Do you need any help?" Cute and helpful. I could totally get used to US guys. I showed him my ticket, and turns out I was waiting at the wrong carousel. Oops. After guiding me to the correct one, this guy, whose name I found out was Zach, even pulled my luggage down for me. But one of my cases got stuck and burst open, causing everything to tumble out.
Girl, it's not your lucky day, is it?
He burst out laughing. Oh well, at least it wasn't all bad. I mean, a cute guy had rescued me, right? He helped me pick up my things, then he offered to drive me to my mom's house. After some 30 minutes, he began to slow down. I looked out the window and, oh my God! This is the chicest villa ever! The pool, the tennis court, the palm trees. It was exactly like a movie star home. I was gawping at the villa when suddenly I heard a car engine sound. Startled, I turned around to see Zach zooming away. "My suitcases!" I yelled. Ugh, my laptop and iPad were in there too. Oh God, why is this happening to me? And on my very first day in the US? At least I still had my phone and passport with me. Phew! So I called my mom. Needless to say, I was a distraught mess when she arrived. Who'd have thought that such a kind-looking guy would turn out to be a thief? Anyways, my mom could buy me new clothes and things, and I could still have an amazing time in her villa, right? Mom led me to my room and told me to get some rest. After that disaster, I was dead exhausted, so I quickly fell asleep on the comfiest bed ever. When I awoke, it was dark outside. I realized I hadn't eaten anything since the flight, so I went downstairs and checked the fridge and cupboards. Huh? They were all empty. I was still digging around in the kitchen when my mom returned with some burgers. "Sweetie, I only got back from my business trip yesterday, so I haven't had time to go to the grocery store. Let's just eat fast food today, okay?" I didn't mind, as it was awesome to have dinner with my mom again after such a long time. I took a look around the room. There was barely any furniture here.
My mom said that's minimalism, a trendy lifestyle in LA nowadays. Less is more. How cool is that? The next morning we went out, but what's with that old rusty car? Seeing my confused look, she quickly explained that this was only temporary as her car was being serviced. But then Mom couldn't get the garage door to open. Turns out, normally she had her own chauffeur, but since I've traveled thousands of miles to visit her, she wanted to drive herself. Huh, how sweet. In the following days, my mom and I enjoyed ourselves in LA. Sunbathing by the pool, spa days, shopping. This is definitely the best vacation of my life. At least until that morning, I was awoken by a loud quarrel. Looking down from the stairs, I saw Mom in the living room with a strange woman. She was pointing at the couch. Geez, that's where I spilled soy sauce yesterday while eating sushi. Then Mom appeared and sounded flustered. She told me to quickly pack my things as we were leaving. Mom, is there something wrong? Oh, nothing, sweetie. It's just that the couch is dirty, so let's just get someone in to clean the entire villa. Wow, Mom would deep clean the whole house just because of a soy sauce stain? How rich is she? So, where will we stay this time? A luxurious 5-star hotel? Or a magnificent mansion in Beverly Hills? But then the car came to a stop in front of some shabby apartment building. Huh? This couldn't be right. Mom told me this was her friend's spare apartment, so we would stay here a few days for convenience. Elena, it's probably best if you stay away from the people in this area. They don't have the same lifestyle as us. You know what I mean. Ugh. Yeah, this place was the opposite of the villa. Cramped room, hard bed, and the bathroom didn't even have a bathtub. Since moving here, Mom didn't take me out anymore. In the evenings, she dressed up all elegantly and went out to her fancy work meetings. On one such evening, I was sitting alone watching YouTube, munching on French fries for the 5th time this week, when there was a knock on the door. I opened it, and standing there was a scruffy guy, claiming to be Frankie, the landlord's son. I told him there must be a mistake, as we were only here for a few days. Then I went to close the door, but he blocked it with his foot. Miss Anita has rented this apartment for 2 years. What do you mean a few days? I just saw her take a cab at the front door. Don't lie to me. No, my mom is a successful businesswoman who has a villa in Brentwood Park. Then you must have mistaken your mom for someone else. In short, remind your businesswoman mom to pay the rent. Then he sneered and walked away. How dare he say that? And why did I keep on running into jerks? Ugh! When Mom returned, I told her what had happened. I thought she'd find it funny or something, but nope. Instead, she got really mad. You shouldn't have opened the door to him. I told you not to socialize with the people here. Okay, hearing made-up lies about yourself like that must suck, but did she have to be so furious about it? The next morning, I was drinking tea on the balcony when suddenly I saw a familiar face passing by down the street. My God, it was the jerk from the airport, Zach! That thief! I shouted, rushing down, but when I got there, he disappeared. I was still exasperated when a voice came from behind. What on earth are you doing screaming this early in the morning? I turned around to see Frankie leaning against the wall with his arms folded. None of your business, swindler. Huh? Swindler? What do you mean? Quit lying. I already told my mom all about you trying to con money out of me. Is that so? So, you think I'm the liar? Before I could answer that provoking question, I heard my mom's voice calling down from the balcony. Hey, rich girl, if you want a reality check, I suggest you come meet me tonight, and we'll go follow your mom. Mom appeared and, frowning, asked me why I was talking to Frankie. I blurted out something about asking for directions, then quickly entered the room and closed the door. Frankie was clearly a thieving, lying jerk, right? But then, why were his words lingering in my mind? I had noticed a few strange things, such as when we were at the villa, I asked Mom where the cutlery was, but she couldn't remember. But then in this apartment, she immediately got it. Plus, why was there a photo of her in the bedroom when this was her friend's place? That night, when Mom was getting ready to go out again, I spotted her necklace. Only, it was actually my necklace. The one that had been stolen along with the rest of my stuff. My dad got that necklace custom-made just for me, so it was a one-of-a-kind, but why did Mom have it? I complimented her on it and asked her where she'd got it from. Blushing, she excitedly told me that this rich man she'd just started dating had bought it for her. Then she said he was taking her for dinner tonight. I forced a smile, but my head was filled with questions. Who really was Mom? I secretly followed my mom down the street. Suddenly, a hand patted my shoulder. "Let's go." I turned around and it was Frankie. Without saying anything, I nodded and quickly got into his car, and we followed Mom's taxi. Hold on. Isn't that the villa we stayed in before? After a while, a luxury car arrived, taking my mom to a nearby expensive restaurant. We peered through the glass wall. There she was. My mom was sitting there, smiling and talking with some man in a suit. Was she pretending to live in that villa to trick that man? Was my mom a gold digger? I couldn't watch any more of this, so I pulled on Frankie's arm. But weirdly, he seemed to be as shocked as I was. Wasn't this your idea? So why the pale face? He just shook his head and took me home. We waited in the apartment for Mom to return, and oh boy, it was tense. Around midnight, we heard the door open, and Mom walked in and looked at us in alarm. She started shooing Frankie out of there, but I interrupted her. "Mom, I know everything. You've lived here for 2 years. You're poor, and you scam rich men. Sweetie, it's not like that. Please calm down and I'll explain everything to you." So, it turns out, after divorcing my dad, she was determined to go back to the US and succeed at business. But she failed, and she was so embarrassed she lied to me and Dad. Then when she heard that I was coming to visit, she spent the little savings she had on renting a swanky villa for me. But when I accidentally spilled soy sauce on that expensive couch, she couldn't afford to fix it, so we were kicked out. As for the man I was with tonight, I ran into him while walking outside the villa. He's rich and nice. He likes me and I like him too. But what about that necklace? Mom, it's actually mine. It was in my stolen suitcase. My mom gave me a confused look, but before she could say anything, Frankie blurted out, "That man's a fraud." Mom and I gaped at Frankie as he turned to me and said, "I'm sorry, but I think you guys need to know the truth." Then Frankie told us how that man was none other than Zach's dad. After taking me back to the villa, Zach figured my mom was rich, so he persuaded his dad to come and flirt with her. "But how did you dig up the dirt on these guys?" "Because I know Zach. When I saw Lana chasing him, I knew he'd stolen from her. But he's my friend." "Great! So you've both been lying to me!" Then I rushed into my room, locked the door, and burst into tears. The next morning, Mom knocked on my door, but I ignored her. "Lana, I get that you're upset with me, but I've left a sandwich here, so please at least eat something. I'm really sorry. Just wanted to be the perfect mother for you." Her words caused me to sob all over again. But I can say, from the bottom of my heart, I feel sorry for her. After that, I opened the door and hugged her tightly, and then we both blubbered into each other's arms. I'm leaving LA today, with Mom. She's moving back to France with me, where she can start afresh. While I was dragging my suitcase to the taxi, Frankie appeared and apologized to me. I just shrugged and told him it didn't matter anymore. I mean, at least he came clean in the end and saved my mom from that swindler. "Hey, rich girl, good luck. And, feel free to keep in touch." So, what now? Well, Mom is settling back into French life. She has a new job and a chic apartment. I go and stay with her each weekend, and it's good to finally spend time with the real her. As for Frankie,
Well, we send each other lots of Snapchats. So, okay, maybe I kinda like him. I'm planning to visit him in the summer. Hopefully my next trip to the US won't be as crazy as my last one. Now, what better way is there to spend a Saturday afternoon than lying on the couch watching a feel-good movie with lots of snacks? I suppose I better get that. OMG. Who is this? He's the most gorgeous boy I've ever seen in my life. I stared at him in open-mouthed amazement, but then I saw him gazing back at me and realized I needed to say something. Hey, how may I help you?
Hi, I'm Jaden. My mom and I have just moved in next door.
Oh, in that case, welcome to the neighborhood. Jaden smiled as he held a box out to me. Was this a gift for me? Already? I took it from him and blushed out a thanks. I opened the box and saw that it was full of delicious-looking cookies.
My mom baked them. She finds that people tend to be far more welcoming when it involves cookies.
We chatted for a bit longer. Then he said he had to go and help his mom unpack. Aw, why did this moment have to end already? The next day at school, I couldn't wait to find my bestie Stella and tell her about my drop-dead gorgeous neighbor. But as it happens, she found me at my locker and immediately started gushing about this hot new boy. I needed to see how handsome this guy was. My chance came at lunchtime when Stella pointed over at the new boy who was currently being pestered by Anna, this stuck-up girl from class. I squinted my eyes. OMG! The hot new boy was none other than Jaden! I watched on as Anna fluttered her eyelashes at him, then flicked her hair behind her back. Ugh! She needed to give the flirting a break. It was so tragic. Suddenly, Jaden saw me, smiled, then hurried over to me.
Hi, Laura. Oh boy, am I glad to see you.
He leaned in close to my ear and whispered,
That girl is kind of freaking me out. Please, can we get out of here?
Then to my surprise, he took my hand and led me away. I could see the shocked look on Anna's face, and I couldn't help but smirk back at her. Ha! Take that, Anna! He's holding my hand, not yours. Then after school, Jaden and I walked home together. Turns out, as well as being the hottest guy on the planet, he was also really sweet and funny. Back home, I saw Jaden's mom, Cynthia, watering her window box. On seeing us, she waved us over, then insisted on inviting me inside for homemade lemonade. We all got on so well. Looks like I'm going to have a boyfriend soon, one whose mom loves me. From then onward, Jaden and I hung out lots. We had lunch together, we went to the library together, and always walked home together. I was pretty sure the girls at school were super jealous, especially Anna. One day during PE, the teacher told us we were playing dodgeball and assorted us into two teams. Anna, who was on the opposite side, wouldn't quit aiming at me. I tried my best to dodge her throws, but bang! She got me! Now, listen to me. Guys like Jaden don't like ordinary girls like you. He's mine, so quit chasing him. Furious, I yelled, I'm not chasing him. He's already my boyfriend. Actually not. Yet I was pretty sure Jaden liked me too. Just you wait. He'll soon tire of you and come running to me. Ugh! Anna was so annoying. I needed to get my frustrations off my chest, so I ranted to Stella about her. Forget Anna. No one likes her anyway. As for Jaden, it's obvious he likes you. He's just new here and probably feels too shy to ask you out. Yeah, you're probably right. He must just be shy. But, I know Anna won't quit chasing him. Then you should make your relationship with Jaden official. Stella had a point. If Jaden was too shy to ask me out, then maybe I should take the initiative. Then Anna would have no choice but to back off. Ha! Tonight was the night. So I texted Jaden, "I need your help with something. Let's meet at 8 p.m. by the slide in the park." But then he messaged back saying he couldn't meet tonight as he had to help his mom with something. Right that moment, my dad arrived home earlier than usual and announced that he was taking me and my sister Megan out for dinner. Ooh, this restaurant looked nice. I walked in alongside Megan and, what were Jaden and his mom doing here? Then my dad walked over to Cynthia, kissed her on the cheek, and said,
"Hello, honey."
Jaden and I shared astonished looks. Then we peered at the adults for an explanation.
"Laura, Megan, this is Ms. Green, the lady I told you about."
What? I mean, I knew Dad was dating a woman named Ms. Green, but I had no idea she was Jaden's mom. Then, before we knew what was happening, Dad got down on one knee and pulled out this diamond ring, then asked her to marry him. And you know what? She said yes! Oh, no. No. They can't marry, 'cause then Jaden will be my brother. Megan looked delighted and hugged them both, while I stared at Jaden in bewilderment. Don't get me wrong, I really want my dad to be happy, but why her? And what about me and Jaden? After that, Cynthia seemed to always be at our house, baking cakes, humming while she dusted and cleaned up, and exchanging gooey looks with my dad. Ew. Then one day, she insisted that Megan and I went wedding dress shopping with her. She tried on this one dress and, yeah, okay, she looked pretty good in it. But when she asked me what I thought about it, I just shook my head and said, "Well, it's not very flattering, is it?" She tried on several more dresses, but I managed to find fault with them all. Then, when I noticed how disheartened she looked, I patted her shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Cynthia. You can always postpone the wedding until you find a suitable dress." She looked a bit taken aback, but then she just smiled at me and said,
"That's okay, Laura. I'm going to go with the first one."
Ugh. Anyway, now the dress was chosen, so at least I could go home now, right? Wrong. As on the way home, we passed an arcade. Cynthia led us there and then excitedly challenged me to a game of air hockey. Then I said jokingly, "Fine, I'll play, but if you lose, you don't deserve to be my mother." And guess what? She won! Ugh! And worse still, Megan wouldn't quit giving me dirty looks for the comments I'd made. Jeez, I was just joking. What is wrong with you today? I plopped down on the couch and blurted out everything. She'd take my side, right? Turns out, no, she wouldn't. What? You and Jaden aren't even official. But Dad loves Cynthia. They both deserve happiness, so stop being a brat about it. Then she stormed off to her room. Ugh, I feel like I'm going crazy. I have huge feelings towards Jaden, and I know he feels the same. So why can't my sister be mature enough to understand that and support me? I needed to vent to someone. Luckily for me, I had Stella. Why does no one care about my feelings? I can't be Jaden's sister. Sorry, Laura. I don't know what to say. Suddenly, from the nearby table came a lousy voice. So that's the reason why Jaden has to hang out with you? You're pathetic, Laura. Turns out we were so lost in conversation, we didn't notice Anna and her flock sitting at the table behind us. Actually, we've been into each other for ages. It's not our fault our parents made some dumb decision. Anyway, whether we can be together or not, it doesn't change the fact that you bore him so much that he'd choose watching paint dry over being with you. How dare you? She was about to grab my hair, but right at that moment, a hand stopped her. It was Jaden. That afternoon, on our walk home, I finally came clean to Jaden. I like you a lot. I have always been since I first met you. I know you like me too, but you think it'll be awkward because our parents are getting married. Maybe if we just tell—
Laura, you're such a sweet girl, and I do like you, but just as a sister.
What? How could he say that to me? He had to like me, didn't he? Feeling an unexplainable amount of shame and embarrassment, I ran away from him. As I lay on my bed and rubbed my tear-stained eyes, all I could think about was how unfair this was. So, by the time Dad called me down for dinner, and I walked in and saw how happy he looked, my anger got the better of me and I yelled, "I hate you, and I hate Cynthia! How dare you try and replace Mom?" Then I rushed back to my room. You really upset Dad. You know that, right? I didn't answer. I was also upset, but no one seemed to care about my feelings. Dad said we come first, so if you really feel this strongly about it, then he'll cancel the wedding. To be honest, I'm real mad with you right now. So? What about me? You're so immature and selfish. I didn't understand how my own sister could be so uncaring, so I screamed out. So what? You don't care that Mom's being replaced by some fake woman? And what about me? Why does no one care how I feel? Oh my God, Laura, for once, this isn't about you. Megan rolled her eyes at me, then stormed off. Finally, everyone quit going on about the stupid wedding. But why didn't I feel good about this? Cynthia didn't seem to be coming round to our house anymore, and I noticed how Dad's cooking seemed to get worse and worse, until he stopped altogether and just ordered takeout. Meanwhile, Jaden wasn't anywhere to be seen at school. Stella asked around to find out where he was, and turns out he'd left, as he was moving back to his old town. No way! After school, I rushed straight over to his house and barged inside to find him and his mom packing. Are you moving away?
Yeah. I moved here to settle down and start a new life with Randall, and this house is for Jaden's future. But the wedding's been cancelled, so I quickly asked Jaden if we could talk outside. My mom's cried so much. Randall's her soulmate, and she can't stay around her if she can't be with him anymore. The most annoying part is that she agrees with him that the kids must come first. So, I hope you're happy now?
Oh my God, what have I done? His words were like a stab to my gut. Oh no, this was all my fault. I was so obsessed with Jaden that I didn't stop to think about what was best for everyone else. Without saying another word, I ran back home and burst into the kitchen where Dad was drearily staring into his iced coffee. Dad, you deserve to be happy with Cynthia. So please go and tell her how you feel before she leaves for good. But it was too late. Cynthia and Jaden had gone. Just kidding! Nah, actually, Dad managed to catch Cynthia just in time, and he told her how much he loves her and can't live without her. So, guess what? Yep, they got married, and now they're both happier than ever. I've learned the hard way that being selfish and inconsiderate of other people's feelings for my own gain just makes everyone miserable, including myself. So, now we're one big happy family. And I suppose having Jaden as a brother isn't actually so bad after all. I was taking an interesting-looking book from the bookshelf when suddenly I saw a face peering back at me. Wait a minute. Oh God, not him! I quickly hid my face behind a book, but too late. He'd already seen me. Duh, what was I thinking? Now I looked even more pathetic. You must be wondering why I was desperately avoiding this dude. Well, this wasn't just any dude. It was my ex-boyfriend, Owen. Talk about a day ruined. Oh, hi, Owen. I didn't see you there. Are you here by yourself?
Oh no, I'm here with my girlfriend. There she is. Hey, babe, I'm here. I turned around and, geez, my day just went from bad to catastrophic. How on earth did they end up together? Yep, I knew that girl. She's Mila, my stepsister. Oh, let me tell you about her. Actually, before we became stepsisters, Mila and I went to the same high school together, but we weren't close or anything. But out of the blue, my mom and Mila's dad somehow got together and soon got married. I tried being friendly towards her, but no matter what I did, she remained cold and unpleasant towards me. She even forbid me from telling anyone at school that we were family. And she started to compete with me for team tryouts, in tests, everything. Then one day, after a few months of living together, she informed our parents that she was moving in with her mom and switching schools. Why, you ask? Well, 'cause she couldn't stand living with me anymore. I'm not gonna lie, hearing her say that hurt like crazy. All I'd been was nice to her. But fine, if that's what she wanted to do, then whatever. And like I said, that guy over there is my ex, Owen. We used to date when I was a sophomore and he was a senior. But then he dumped me for the most ridiculous reason ever. Well, back then, I was on a strict diet. Every time we went out for some food, I would order a depressing-looking salad, and Owen would order a delicious hamburger with fries on the side. So I always snuck a fry or two from his plate, and a couple of bites out of his burger. But I mean, sharing is something totally normal in a relationship, right? But, well, Owen didn't think so. So just like that, he ended things with me, then went away to college. But now he was back in town for summer break, and he was dating my stepsister. Ugh. Oh, hey Amy. Long time no see. Oh yeah, I hope you don't mind, but I'm with Owen now. Ugh, I hate her sarcasm. And did she have to latch onto his arm and stroke his hair? What about you, Amy? Are you seeing anyone at the moment? There was no way I was going to tell them I was single. That would be so embarrassing. So I flipped my hair, then started bragging about my awesome older boyfriend. A mature guy who has the face of a movie star and the body of a Calvin Klein model. Wrinkles started to form between Mila's eyebrows. In your face? But then Owen suddenly said, Great. How about a double date tomorrow night? What? Great idea, babe. I want to meet the lucky guy who stole my sister's heart. My God, they weren't joking. Ugh, I had no other choice but to agree. Darn it, where was I going to find a handsome older guy by tomorrow? Amy, are you trying to wear away that table? Oops, I'd been so preoccupied with my dating dilemma, I hadn't realized I'd been cleaning the same table for 20 minutes. Hey, but wait! I took a closer look at my manager's face. Jake is handsome, older than me, and he's single. My God, I'd found my fake boyfriend! Now I just needed to persuade him. But he's way too serious to help with this stupid situation. I did know he was on the search for his perfect girlfriend, as I'd overheard him complaining about the disastrous dates he's been on. Cue my perfect plan. After we closed the coffee shop, I volunteered to clean up so I had an excuse to stay late with Jake. Hey Jake, my boyfriend Owen has an intelligent, gorgeous-looking sister who I want to introduce you to. At first he wasn't interested, so I showed him Mila's prettiest picture. Holy moly! That's his sister? Jeez, why so surprised? Mila is not that beautiful. Whatever, at least I had his attention. I asked him if he wanted to go on a double date, and he immediately agreed. Yes, jackpot! So my plan worked. But the only issue was that my fake boyfriend thinks he was on a date with Mila, and that I was with Owen, when in reality they were actually both together. But no worries, I could pull this off. Right? So for our double date, we all went bowling.
Jake took an instant liking to Mila and tried to impress her with his bowling skills. Me, on the other hand, sucked at bowling and got constantly teased by Owen. So, when it was his turn and he misjudged his throw and threw the ball straight in the gutter, I had loads of fun teasing him back. To be honest, I was enjoying hanging out with him. And please, don't get me started with his looks. He's definitely grown more handsome with time. Suddenly, it was my turn again, and Owen was asking me if I wanted him to show me how to throw a bowling ball correctly. I timidly said yes. So he stood behind me, touched my hand, and showed me. Oh my God, my whole body was heating up, and I could feel that Owen was blushing too. Hang on, I think I still have feelings for him. Mila didn't deserve him. He should be with me. Overall, the double date was a big success. Jake didn't suspect a thing. And not only that, but he also helped keep Mila away from Owen so that I had a chance to win him back. But then a few days later, Jake told me that he really liked Mila and asked me if I could set them up on a date, but this time only the two of them. What? He actually liked Mila? Of course, I couldn't set them up. It was impossible, because Mila was with Owen. So, reluctantly, I suggested another double date. He agreed, but this time he insisted that we went out for a romantic dinner. Fine. Everything was okay at first, but then Owen placed his arm around Mila while she fed him some of her mashed potatoes. I glanced over at Jake and saw the dumbfounded look on his face. I needed to separate them quickly, so I asked Mila to come to the bathroom with me. Oh, Owen is such a great guy. He's so thoughtful, and he always treats me like a princess. Ugh, she's so annoying. Well, enjoy him while you can, 'cause he would soon be mine again. When I walked out of the bathroom, Jake ran over to me and dragged me into a corner. Owen and Mila are really strange, don't you think? Are you hiding something from me? What? I would never. They're just close siblings, that's all. Oh, and by the way, I talked to Mila in the bathroom, and she thinks you're a great guy. Of course, that was a big fat lie. If I was Pinocchio, my nose would be as long as an entire baseball bat. But at least Jake was buying it, 'cause he looked so thrilled. We went back to the table and continued this so awkward dinner. Suddenly, Owen and Mila started calling each other Buttercup, Cutie Pie, and other disgusting nicknames. Jake and I just sat there with super awkward faces. Hey, Mila, you and Owen seem to be pretty close. Have you always been this way? Of course. We just can't get enough of each other, can we, sweet stuff? She looked at Owen with dreamy eyes and kissed him on the cheek. Yes, on the freaking cheek! I looked over to Jake and, yep, he looked so horrified, but maybe he hadn't figured out they aren't siblings. Ugh, who am I kidding? Of course he'd figured it out. After the double date, he yelled at me for tricking him. I explained to him that I really like Owen and that I was trying to win him back. What about you? Do you like Mila? Jake silently thought for a minute, then nodded. He really likes Mila a lot. So I suggested that we should team up to break the couple up. And Jake agreed. I told Jake that Mila is into photography and also has professional equipment. So he messaged her asking if she could take photos of the coffee shop for his online page. And Mila said yes. While that was going on, I turned into a complete creep and followed Owen just so I could accidentally bump into him at the bakery. Then we had some croissants and talked about the old days. I thought it would be fun spending a whole day with Owen, but no. On the contrary, it soon began to get boring. Kinda annoying even. Turns out, his personality hadn't changed at all. He kept his food out of biting distance of me and still told the lamest jokes. Listen to this. What do you call a sad coffee? A depresso. Now I regret buying him that coffee. Maybe I should reconsider this. I mean, do I really want this boring guy back? Then he told me he was planning a special surprise for Mila, and he wanted to discuss it with me over dinner at his place. When I was in the kitchen helping him to cook, he suddenly lunged forward and tried to kiss me. Huh? What? I was so startled that I threw some carrots in his face. Oh my God. My plan actually worked and Owen had fallen for me. What about Mila? I thought this whole meeting was about a surprise for her. And that was when Owen came clean to me. He had no surprise planned for Mila. That was just a ruse to get me here. Also, turns out the time we met at the bookstore wasn't by chance. Owen had been stalking me. What? Creep! He also knew that Mila was my stepsister, so he purposely got with her to make me jealous.
Amy, it's you that I love. It's always been you.
What? Hearing him say that gave me the shivers. Well, now at least one thing's for sure. Any feelings I thought I had for him had 100% evaporated.
Letting you go was a big mistake. Please come back to me. Mila means nothing to me. I don't care about her at all.
Oh, wow. Owen is a massive jerk. How dare he take advantage of Mila's feelings like that? Ugh, I needed to warn her. But before doing that, I had to give him a piece of my mind. Let me make this clear. I only went on a double date with you guys because I didn't want to lose to Mila. Nothing else. May I remind you that you're the idiot that split up with me? Oh, and your jokes are really lame. And that's it. Owen just stood there with a bewildered look on his face, and I left. I ran straight to the cafe shop where Mila was and blurted out the whole truth about how Owen was just using her to make me jealous. I can't believe you're doing it again. What do you mean by that? Don't act all innocent. You're stealing my boyfriend again. Huh? What did she mean by again? Turns out back then, Mila had a crush on Owen. So when Owen and I started dating, she got real mad. And that's why she was always so cold with me. I didn't know. I swear. If I knew that, I would never have dated him. Ugh, just stop. I know you can't stand losing to me. Just leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with you. I give up. Talking to her was pointless. But then Jake suddenly spoke up.
Mila, she's trying to protect you. If she didn't care about you, then she'd just let you be with that jerk. But no, she told you the truth even though she knew you'd probably react like this. Because that's what sisters do. They protect each other.
Mila fell quiet for a bit, but then realized Jake was right. So we sat together and had a long, serious talk. There were laughter, tears, and copious amounts of hot chocolates, but in the end, we finally seemed to understand each other. So that was it. After all the drama, Mila and I put aside our feud and made up. At first, Mila was kinda sad about what Owen did to her. Luckily, Jake kept her company, and she soon opened up to him, and their relationship developed. And now they're dating. Yahoo! About me, I may still be single, but I'm okay with that. The main thing is that after all these years of hating and competing, Mila and I made up. I don't have a boyfriend, but I have something better. I have my sister back.
Admit it. Come on. You took my necklace, didn't you? Mindy looked at us and shook her head. She was sweating. Well, there are only 3 of us in this house, and if Andy didn't take it, then obviously it was you. Seriously, Cass, you got to believe me, I didn't take it. But clearly she was lying, because when I rummaged through her bag, Cass's necklace was right there. Cass told her to get out of her house, and Mindy burst into tears. Poor Mindy. I really wanted to stop Cass, but she seriously hates people touching her stuff, so I just kept quiet. You see, Cass and I are pretty much joint at the hip. We've always lived in the same neighborhood, so we grew up together and shared everything. Well, almost everything. Except one little secret that would probably ruin our friendship forever if she found out about it. Auntie, what are you doing? I started to stammer. This is so cute. Honestly, I'm so upset about Mindy. I can't believe she'd do something like that. I smiled, not knowing what to say. I mean, it was me who'd exposed her. Suddenly, I felt so guilty. Right at that moment, we got to the checkout. Cass took everything out of the cart to give to the cashier. "Hang on," she exclaimed. "What is this? This item has the barcode ripped off." The cashier made a fuss for a while and even called the manager. Cass and I stood there for ages, trying to figure out what was going on. Cass even started crying, thinking she'd be accused of shoplifting. After about 30 minutes, the store manager came and told us we could leave. They kept the items that had no barcodes and sent us on our way. Phew, that was close. What? What do you mean? Oh, nothing. I'm just relieved that we didn't get into any trouble. Just so you know, though, that wasn't the first time we'd got ourselves into an awkward situation while out shopping. Sometimes it was the torn barcodes, sometimes the tags were missing, then the security alarm would always go off at the door. And all of these situations weren't just coincidences. Okay, I gotta be honest here. The thing is, I have a habit of pilfering. Not because I can't afford stuff. I mean, my dad's the owner of a bank, so money isn't the issue. My dad basically buys me the latest phone every month. And you should see my wardrobe. I have all the designer bags. I steal because it gives me the kind of thrill that my boring daily life just can't give me. My dad just hands me money every day and never stops to think that maybe I'd like a hug or a "how are you?" ever since my mom left when I was just a baby. He's been using money as a way to keep the peace. So one day when I was in elementary school, I stole a hairpin from the girl who sat next to me. It felt so good, like my own little secret. I loved the drama that came with it, and the fact that no one ever suspected me because I was such a rich little girl. After the hairpin, I got addicted to stealing little things and couldn't stop. It felt like the only thing I could control in my life, and so I kept on doing it. And here I am now, still getting a buzz from it every single time. And yep, you've guessed it. The one who took the necklace at Cass's sleepover was none other than me, of course. But at that time, because I was so scared, I slipped the necklace into Mindy's bag and pretended to find it there. I was deep in thought when suddenly Alex's scream startled me. "Guys, I've lost my unicorn pen. You know, the pen that glows?" The whole class was suddenly in uproar. Some friends were trying to look for it. Meanwhile, Alex was walking straight towards me. "Andrea must have taken it. This morning when I took out the pen, me and her were the only ones in here." I looked up at Alex, my heart pounding in my chest. This is it. I'm so done this time. Then I suddenly looked over at Scott Parker, the cute boy who just transferred to our class. Oh no, I couldn't give him a bad impression of me. I had to quickly think of a way out of this. "You waited until I went to the bathroom to take it, didn't you?" "Alex, I'd never do such a thing. Besides, I have loads of nice pens. In fact, you can have one if you'd like." I pulled out a beautiful pink rhinestone pen from my pencil case and handed it to Alex. While Alex stared in awe at my pen, I suggested everyone go check their lockers to see if her pen was there. Sure enough, right by the lockers was the glowing unicorn pen she'd lost, right in front of Scott. I picked up the pen and handed it to Alex. "I'm so upset you thought I'd steal this from you. But it's okay. At least we found it." Alex blushed and apologized to me. Our other friends also blamed Alex for not looking for it carefully enough and for jumping to conclusions about me. "Next time, don't be so silly. Andrea's a good person. Besides, her family is so wealthy. Why would she need to steal a pen from you?" I just smiled and walked away. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind me. It was Scott. He looked at me and said, "Wow, that was totally dramatic. I'm Scott, by the way. You're Andrea, right? Sorry if this is a bit forward, but here's my number." Excuse me? Am I dreaming? Of course, I texted him as soon as I got home. He said he was so impressed with how I'd handled being blamed for the whole thing. Soon we were chatting every day, and eventually he asked me to be his girlfriend. I was so happy. But there was just one small problem. Ever since we'd started dating, I felt really ashamed about my bad habit of stealing things. I was determined to give it up, but it wasn't going to be easy. One day, Scott came to pick me up and asked if I wanted to go to the bookstore. "A bookstore? No, I don't want to go there. Can we go somewhere else? Please? Seeing me panic like that, Scott looked puzzled. Then he suggested we go to his place to watch a movie, which I was fine with. Hopefully there would be no temptations for stealing there. A middle-aged woman opened the door for us at Scott's place. "Oh, this is Sandra, our maid." "Hi, Sandra. I'm Andrea." But instead of saying hi back, Sandra just stared at me in a seriously creepy way. It actually sent shivers down my spine. After watching the movie, Scott and his mom invited me to stay for dinner. Scott's mother, Mrs. Doris Parker, was really sweet, and we had some interesting chats. While waiting for dessert, I got up to go to the bathroom. But as I stepped out there, I almost bumped into Sandra. She was just standing there staring at me again. Sorry." She didn't say anything, but just kept staring at me in this weird way. Oh my gosh, why was she looking at me like that? The next morning at school, Scott told me his mother had just lost a valuable ring. She had a jewelry tray next to the bathroom sink, and after washing her hands, she'd forgotten to put her ring on. After dinner, the ring was no longer there. I comforted Scott, then made an excuse to go to the ladies' room. I needed to seriously think about this. Honestly, I'd tried my best to not get the urge to steal at Scott's place. But when I'd seen Doris's beautiful ring, no, I had to find a way to return it. No one could find out about this. And I had sworn to myself that I would never let this happen again. "Hello, Huh? Where's Sandra?" "Oh, she was fired. Mrs. Parker said Sandra had stolen her jewelry. Anyway, may I help you?" Oh no, I had to return this ring immediately. Poor Sandra. Scott came down for me and said he'd make dinner. I glanced through the window to find Doris was having tea in the garden. This was my chance. I snuck up to her room, quietly tiptoed in, and headed towards her jewelry box. Suddenly, the light came on. "Tell me, what on earth are you doing here?" I quickly turned around, dropping the ring to the floor. Mindy? Why are you here?" "I'm Scott's cousin. So it was you who stole the ring. I can't believe my cousin is dating you." Hearing the noise, Scott and his mom ran upstairs while I was still dumbfounded and speechless. "It was you who stole Cass's necklace too, wasn't it? She won't even speak to me because of you." "I'm so sorry. I know it's not okay, but I couldn't stop myself. I've been feeling so guilty, so that's why I'm returning it." I was still kneeling on the ground when a hand reached out to me and helped me stand up. "I'll handle this. Come on, let's have a chat outside, shall we?" Turns out Mrs. Parker is a therapist. She could see I had a problem and offered to help me. I told her how guilty I'd been feeling about Sandra getting fired and asked Doris if she could call her for me so I could apologize. 30 minutes later, Sandra arrived. As soon as Doris saw her, she apologized and offered her the job back. But no, ma'am. I was the one who stole it, and I deserve to be punished. "I'm sorry. Sandra, I've already confessed to Mrs. Parker that I stole the ring. I didn't mean to get you fired. I just couldn't help it. You didn't do anything wrong. It was me. I was greedy. She is innocent." What on earth is going on? Obviously, I was the thief, so why was she defending me? Why are you doing this? Do we know each other, Sandra? And that's when the truth came pouring out. Sandra was my mom. Yeah, I don't know how this is possible either. So according to her words, she'd had a huge fight with my dad when I was a baby, and she'd fled to another city where she found a job working for Scott's family. When they moved to Seattle, she came with them. Even though she was nervous about returning back to where me and my dad were, she'd carried so much guilt about leaving us, and never in a million years did she expect to bump into me at Scott's house. I was so shocked I couldn't even speak. I'd imagined this moment my whole life, and now, here I was, standing face to face with her, and she'd even taken the blame for me. I couldn't believe it. Mom, I'm so sorry that I stole the ring. I can't believe you're really here. Sweetie, you don't need to apologize. I'm the one who will be apologizing for the rest of my life. Abandoning my daughter like that. What kind of mom am I? How will you ever forgive me? We stood there, hugging for what felt like forever, and I knew in that moment that I'd never steal again. Doris diagnosed me as having kleptomania due to a lack of love from my mom. But now that my mom was back, I had no reason to seek out those thrills from stealing. I had everything I needed right here. There were a few moments where I almost stole again, but Doris told me to call my mom as soon as I felt the urge, And when my mom picked up the phone and I heard her voice, the urge faded, and I felt so much better. Scott and Cass and Mindy forgave me after Doris sat them all down and explained more about my addiction and where it stemmed from. Now, Scott and I are still together, and I see my mom every day at Scott's place. My dad hasn't forgiven my mom for leaving yet, but baby steps. Finally, I feel like everything is complete, and my pilfering is a thing of the past.